Seriously, you just skip It's actually something. Call me, man. Jenny here. Is this going on? The golf course. It's gonna be just
different, Jimmy.
the golf course. Golf cart.
Oh, yeah. So you and I just talked about this briefly this morning. Yeah, we can't regulate State Road 10. You know, I think the way it's constructed, you can cross a highway perpendicular if you're going from one county road to the other, but we can't regulate a riding ordinance penalizing somebody for riding along State Road 10. It's still not legal, but the state has exclusive authority to regulate that highway. So
We can't make no ordinance.
well, I mean, if we did, they couldn't enforce it under our ordinance.
Right.
So
Rick.
Want to open up the bids for the jail renovation, and the courthouse has got a couple leaks in it, and open up bids for the leaks.
I know, Joe, we're gonna be able to separate it.
Yeah, I'm gonna separate health side of it to the correction facility. That's just a.
Oh, yeah, they got a new superintendent. You got the old keys back?
Right now, I cannot find a key for the door that goes to her office. It's always unlocked. But if I have to, I'll get the lock and put it on.
Did you go back and look at what keys were issued to the old superintendent?
I don't know if I got them that far back, but the last one I cannot find any on Tracy, the last one, no.
No, we. Check with you. 4-8. Downstairs.
Yeah, I've checked with a couple of them, but not so I can't remember her name. I haven't checked with her yet.
Yeah, from the period extension.
Hey, Rick, Don,
Good.
I have a key ring too, because I think one of those rooms might have been EMA before. My keychain's older than Tori's. So I'll get with it. I may
Okay.
have a key for that.
If, I guess the new one's Amy, if she wants to keep her door locked, we'll have to either buy the lock or.
I'll check. I may have one. I'll check.
But we are gonna give her an outside key to get in the building too.
Yeah, you okay with the key?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second. On favor? Yeah, we need to make sure we got all the keys from the previous superintendent. Find out. They still get older and find out. Okay. All right, thanks, Rick. Yep. Yeah. All right. It's just here.
You probably forgot because it had a second.
Yeah.
That's not my experience, really.
It is. I was trying to find this so I could share it.
Get on there. Three.
I'm getting message saying that we're not on.
Give me a minute till she gets that. You can go ahead and pass it.
And then it might be something else, remember? All right. Just a second.
No mouse.
Hmm?
No, I said, somebody else messaged it too.
So,
It's more.
Yeah, it's fine.
They're smaller than I like it.
That you have to record. Yeah. Merchants.
Try to get us online.
I'll back out because you already got myself.
So you don't have to.
You know, explain everything. You got a photo.
Yeah, as soon as we start, I'll read it all. You pretty much done.
Yeah.
Because they're saying that we don't. Whenever you want to, this is we have.
But actually, we do have a little more on this because of that. You know, another,
Right.
you know. Just,
See, now it's in your lights, right?
things through lawyers.
Try it again on YouTube.
Then it goes to charge of.
It doesn't make it to.
Right.
It just says stop it.
It's just on my
It's live right now.
I don't report it to that.
Justin, are you able to see if it's live now?
Somebody said that it's like, yeah, he's okay, unless guy.
Thanks.
We're good. Stand by.
Very good.
When the drainage board meeting, we could hear it really loud with the microphones, it was really loud. Still can't hear today. Is it, does it have something to do with the live stream? There's all, we can't hear back there. But the drainage meeting, it was super loud.
I don't have an answer.
We got two checks here for merchants and medical. $472.50. One from O'Hare, 79.22.
Morning, gentlemen,
Morning.
ladies and gentlemen. This is a report for July of 2024. Currently, as always, we continue operating 4 out of 6 ambulances, 1 ALS. Level 100% of the time, 2 operating ALS. 1 staffing permits, along with full-time chase car staff daily. 1 transfer truck, which is up more than it used to be. Ambulances, some backup when they're doing transfers. Medic 2, which is a transfer truck, also does backups. Staffing compared to July staffing, 2 or more ALS staffed ambulances, 87%, which is decreased from 94%. Transfers, last month we had a drop off to 36, which we had in July, which was a decrease of 14. We've currently been promoting and picked 2 new accounts up that call for transfers, currently working on more. New part-time transfer crews are being trained at this time. Personnel, we have 2 full-time openings for EMTs, 2 applications on the waiting list. 3 new applications received last week. 7 out of 8 current full-time and 1 unfulfilled paramedic full-time opening. 16 part-time paramedics. Last month we did CPR research. Upcoming this month, we have advanced life support assist for BLS providers to increase their awareness. And emergency vehicle operations again being scheduled for August Last reported injury was March 5th with a chase car accident. Ambulance maintenance. Medic 2, which is out of service at sideline for a ball joint, waiting estimate. Medic 1's in service and up to date. Medic 3 is current, in service, up to date. And the backup reserve unit is right now serving as medic 2. The other reserve unit is possibly out of sideline for a body control module, possible transmission. Grover Town Base Medic 5 is in service and up to date. Current chase car that's sitting at Medic 41 is fully staffed and functional, and it's registered with the state, staffed by shift captains. My vehicle is currently fully stocked and still state registered. Base maintenance, routine, as usual. Baby box is completed, it's tested, and training is scheduled for September 9th at 9 a.m. Blessings before being placed in service on September 9th at noon. New grants are open now, and it's always a daily part of the routine, searching for new ones. Donations. Bass Lake Fire Department donated $1,000 towards the line of duty death memorial. Bianca Rose donated the book bench, flower arrangements, and some chips for the memorial service we held. Hicks Gas also donated gas for the memorial service. PPE still good for everybody. New coats have been ordered for winter, which that was just this morning. The totals that we have there. We were sold, company that does our billing was sold in the middle of July with no warning. So there was a lag in between there. So it might be a blessing with this new company. This new company's got a 98% overall rating. And they're already pursuing for backlogs. Questions?
How much time remains on that contract?
That I have to check. That's, I want to talk to Justin about that later too.
Okay.
Because we have that one and we have another one that our forms that we use now to do the run sheets. I think we have 4 years on
Okay.
that. Anything else?
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Nick.
Good morning. My name's Nick Barb Connect, Vice President of Hoosier Solar. We're excited to be with you today. We've got several members of the team here. I grew up in Michigan City, got a lot of family from Starke County. We're proud to invest in this community and we're proud to talk about our project here today. So today with us, we have Chelsea Woodfin, Aaron Steely, our experienced developers leading the project. Ahmed Nafal, our Director of Engineering, Ian Bajurski, Director of Land Acquisition. Jeff Weaver from HWC Engineering, we've contracted with to assist on pavement asset management plan and traffic management plan as a part of our road use agreements with the highway garage. Andy Metzel, our legal counsel from Taft. Marty Lucas, our local counsel. Larry Wickard, our senior advisor, and Mary Perrin, our community relations specialist. Hoosier Solar started in Starke County 5 years ago with conversations with county leaders about 600 megawatts of utility scale solar across Starke County. Through that time, we built relationships with 16 participating landowners, many of whom are in the room today, the Bells, the Facilios, Don Kenneth, many others who are in the room today, one certain I'm missing. And then over 10 signed good neighbor agreements with neighboring parcels who've had a chance to participate in the project and have an input in the layout and the design. That comprises 2,500 acres of utility scale solar on a project across Starke County that will cost over $600 million to construct, of which we've already invested $10 million to develop to this point. When completed, the project will contribute at least $1 million in additional tax revenue to the county for y'all to decide to invest how you choose. with conversations with the public. While we have additional leases in Starke County, these 410 megawatts that we're discussing here today is all we'll be permitting in Starke County and all we'll be pursuing. The additional leases we won't be having in for a variety of reasons. The land's just not usable for wetland to countless other reasons. We have 410 megawatts that we're talking about, 210 megawatts northeast of Knox, and then another 200 east of Bass Lake in rural North Bend Township. The northeast of Knox one is called Starke Central, and then the one east of Bass Lake is called North Bend Township. We deeply invested in the community as a part of this project, and from our work with Purdue on agrivoltaics, advance the co-location of agriculture and livestock within and surrounding our solar farm. But then we've also invested in countless community organizations. You may have read about in the paper our reconstruction of the swine barn at 4-H Fairgrounds, but also our investment in a Hoosier Solar Community Fund with the Starke County Community Foundation, $105,000 permanent community fund that the Starke County Community Foundation can use to invest in Starke County's greatest needs in perpetuity with an annual scholarship. We've now reached out to every neighbor to our project proactively and offered every neighbor to our project who has a residence the chance to participate in the project design and have input in the layout, and those conversations are continuing. Last week, we had our second open house at our office in downtown Knox. We had our first one a year ago at the Hamlet Fire Station, widely advertised both. As you know, our project today before you is only for the approval of the Starke Central and North Bend decommissioning and road use agreements. As you also know, setbacks, landscaping, and many other permitting items have been previously established by the commissioners over 2 years ago by the publicly approved solar ordinance of 2022, currently on file. Similarly, drain crossings and drains are covered by the various drainage boards and conservancy districts. The documents Mr. Schramm has before you today have been vetted by the highway superintendent and commissioners ahead of today's meeting and lean on lessons from previous projects. I'll talk about road use and decommissioning specifically now. On road use, we're committing by contract to leave the roads better than we found them by having the county repair the roads during construction and bill us monthly during construction, in addition to a 5% project administration fee that we will pay to help the county staff these operations, removing us from the financial motives of waiting to repair them during construction. At the commissioner's request, we've added a requirement utilizing a PASER rating system of 1 to 10. Will be responsible for a pre-construction and post-construction survey of the roads for asset management inventory. If a road had a 5 before we go to construction, we'll be responsible for paying to bring it up to a 6 plus that 5%, which is reflected in the contract before you. For roads close longer than 20 minutes, we have to provide at least 48 hours notice. At least 90 days prior to construction, HWC will have a traffic management plan and have asset management plan approved by Rachel before we can go to construction. We commit to alleviating and limiting road damage, road closures, dust, debris, and as well as holding their contracts, again, by contract, our contractors enforcing them, follow local road laws and speed laws while they're navigating around our project. We'll be posting $1.5 million bonds per project or $3 million of road use bonds total for road use to cover this, the road use project. And we've provided also before you documentation from our insurer bonding ability up to $50 million to cover both road use and decommission. After the pre-construction survey that Rachel will approve, Rachel will reevaluate if that 1.5 million is sufficient. And if it is not, we will increase our bond amount for road use to cover that. On decommissioning, we're posting a decommissioning bond prior to construction that will stand independent of us with the county so that any 12-month period of no power generation after operation initiates a decommissioning of the project that returns the project farmland within 18 months. Again, that $50 million documentation has been provided that we're prepared to bond on our projects in Starke County. And in our decommissioning agreement, we also commit that the county will receive either the benefit, full benefit of salvage value upon decommissioning, or decommissioning bonds will be adjusted to reflect 100% of decommissioning costs without being reduced by salvage value. As you also know, better than I do, we'll be updating this and renewing this study every 5 years to cover inflation. We'd love to take all the questions about your project, about our project and the documents before you today. But real quick, I'd like to introduce one of our participating landowners, Mike Basilio. He's on the board of Duke Energy and Starke County resident, landowner, and deeply experienced in energy.
I just wanted, first of all, thank you.
When you're done talking, will you sign that?
Happily.
Your representative.
Me. Yeah. Well, folks, my name is Mike Basilio and I'm a proud son of Starke County. I grew up here a third of my life, lived in Starke County. My dad was Venture, I lived across the road. Many of you probably know Bench. He passed away in 2015. He's buried here along with my grandparents. Grew across the road from Joseph, Dad's brother, and this is my cousin Tony. I also have my brother-in-law here, Greg Gallagher, who many of you know in the agricultural business here in Starke County. I love Starke County. My mom lives here. My sisters live here. My brother-in-law served Dennis Delphon in the medical field, probably many of you and many of your children. So my interest truly is with this county. We have a philanthropic foundation that I give to. I was fortunate enough, I retired from the Exelon company. I ran their generation business, 35,000 megawatts in 19 states. We ran the largest nuclear power company in the United States, 24 of our nation's 95 reactors. I'm fortunate enough now to be on Duke Energy's board that serves 23,000 acres of the 35,000 acres in Indiana through Duke Energy Indiana. Hopefully someday we'll have a nuclear plant in Indiana. Not this far north, I'm not here to talk about that today, but my heart's there too. I've done my own personal due diligence on this company. They're credible. They're credible. And I'll tell you, the way the country is headed with diversity of generation, it's not only good for the country, it's good for Starke County. There's very few industries, as you all know, that you can plant in any of our counties and not have an outfall. Either that's environmentally hazardous to air or to water. And this particular industry does neither. It's clean. Your air is clean. There's no impact to water. It's clean. I ran all different types of generation, everything you can imagine that makes electrons with the exception of coal. We didn't have coal, Duke does. And about 75% of the electricity generated, just for FYI in Indiana, is either coal, natural gas, or oil. Very, very small percentage is in the renewable category. But they're trying to grow that. There's 1,700 acres in Glennsville, just outside of Indianapolis, that Duke Energy is developing right now, and it'll come online in 2025. Thank you for your time today. I just want to give my support to the project. I think it's good for the community. It gives hundreds of thousands, if not millions, dollars in tax revenue and very little, if none, environmental impact. I think the company is committed to put whatever beautification boundaries in place that makes the community happy. I hold them accountable to that. Thank you for your time today.
Thank
I
you.
don't take any questions.
Thank you, Mike.
Good.
That's all we have. We'd love to answer all of your questions.
Rachel, have you gotten a list of roads they plan to use? Okay, when should we expect that?
That'll be a part of our road use study with Jeff Weaver prior to construction, at least 90 days prior to construction. We'll have that submitted to y'all before we can go to construction. The earliest we'll go to construction on our North Bend phase of our project because of regulatory permitting is mid next year, late next year on North Bend. And so at least 90 days before that. So by next spring, we'll have, subject to Rachel's approval, full road use and asset management inventory.
I'd like to have that in time so that our people can go back and do their own ratings on those roads. Then have a definite list of what you plan to operate on, which roads you plan to use for this project. That way we know what to expect. Because there's potential for a difference in opinion when it comes to pays or ratings. And so, yeah, I just want to make sure we have enough time beforehand to make sure we're on the same page before construction starts.
You good with that, yeah? We'll do that.
Well, a little bit on that decommissioning agreement. I mean, all this paperwork we got about, I think we all received it about 7 days ago. So that's a little bit short time to be approving anything today, I would have said myself, but. 'Cause I haven't got to read over everything, so. But I know, Justin, you sent us this email. And talking about like priority lien, if the solar company's got a lending company. So, and we're talking salvage value. Who actually has control over that's property?
Sure, so that's a good question, and something that Nick just baseline touched on, and it's something that's been adjusted in both your decommissioning agreements. First, before I start, I just want to tell you, you've got binders in front of you. Let me just explain real briefly, because again, you guys have had all these documents. I just want to tell you how they're organized. So obviously it's organized by project. If you open up your binders, it starts with 2 decommissioning agreements, one for North Bend, one for Starke Central. The road use agreement, again, for North Bend and Starke Central. At the very end, there's the bondability letters and the performance bonds that have went through both the planning commission and the office of zoning, I should say, not the planning commission, and myself. But to speak, Charlie, to your question, because it is a good question. So something that I thought of, again, because I've reviewed private landowner agreements in Pulaski County, and usually, so I just want to tell you how this came about. Usually in those private landowner agreements between the landowner and the solar company for these option leases or these lease option agreements, there's language in there that talks about subrogating, an already existing mortgage in favor of the solar company's lending institution. So I'm not sure each project's different. Some people haven't, there's probably some percentage of investors, some percentage that is financed through a third-party financing agent. So it kind of got me thinking. I thought, well, if the Bank of New York finances a third of this project, and they've recorded documentation to say that, if you go bankrupt or bottoms up, we have a priority lien on the property that we helped you buy. So I reached out to Nick, said, hey, Nick, what are the implications of this? His team had made the adjustment in the decommissioning agreement. You will see, if you flip just the top decommissioning agreement, for example, it's the same in both the North Bend project. If you look at section 2.1, could be item number 2. So in that case, where there is a priority mortgage in front of anybody else's because of third-party lending institution, bank financed a portion of this project. Number 2, the decommissioning costs will be adjusted to reflect 100% of the estimated decommissioning costs. This means salvage value will not be taken into account. So, and of course, this would be decreased over time as they pay down their financial obligations on the project. If they go bankrupt year number 1, they're going to owe presumably 100% to the bank that financed the project. In that case, they will have posted their performance bond for 100% of the project, not taking into account salvage value. That happens 10 years down the road, and they've got their project paid off. Salvage value might be taken into effect, and Nick, you may have that proportion of salvage value. I don't know if it's 33% of the project. I know it's included in the appendices. You'll see that decommissioning agreement. Attachment A is the decommissioning plan that you would have all received. It's 25 pages, a lot of numbers there, but
the total decommissioning cost for North Bend is 16.8 million, Starke Central 14.6. Again, these are the documents you all received earlier last week. And then the scrap value for both is 5.5 million and 4.3 for a total decommissioning of all Hoosier Solar across Starke, 31.5 million to rip it all out, return it to farmland. And then we have 9.9 million of scrap value, 99% of which is the steel that supports the project, which has had an average annual increase over the past 50 years of 3% increase every year. 1% is copper and aluminum, not including panels, just pure scrap value of copper. The total net of those two, if our financing were to post it as a net bond, would be 21.6. If through our financing, as Justin was describing, we do not give you priority over the salvage value, we're required by the contract before you to post the full decommissioning bond without salvage value taken into account.
So if that makes sense, I know it's hard to explain over email, but I don't know if you guys have any follow-up questions to that, because that was an important piece that we did adjust.
That's during one of the planning commission meetings, the recent one we had, the decommissioning agreement or was brought up by a citizen and, the planning commission kind of said, they'd be willing to look at it, and other factors within the ordinance if we, wanted stuff changed to better those documents. But, if we don't agree with it, well, then it won't happen, but. Cause I think with some of that salvage value. And it's kind of out of the question. I don't know. I think there's more to it we need to look at, but.
Like what?
Well, everybody's talked about that, but this doesn't sound like we're gonna end up, we wouldn't get it, so. The banks would. Is that basically it?
Well, in a case where the bank would have priority of a portion of those, or not all those equipment, then 100% of that bond, that performance bond would be posted for the full amount. So bank gets the panels, they're responsible for 100% excluding salvage value of the project. And that's true not just if it's bank financing, that's true regardless. So if, for example, because I think every 5 years we're going to update this plan, let's say it's 8 years into it, they go defunct. And let's say salvage value is not exactly what they thought it was going to be. Via this contract 2.1, not just in the case of bank financing, it's going to be adjusted to reflect 100% of the decommissioning costs. So they're responsible regardless. Just saying if the salvage value comes in where they say it's going to come in, a portion of that will be taken into account. If not, then again, pursuant to this 2.1 subsection 2, they're responsible for 100% of the costs. I know that was a big area of public concern. So that was an item of discussion we ran through several times. But it is a good point, Charlie. It is. It's something that the public was very vocal about, the salvage value. So again, if you have recommendations on how to improve that language, feel free to offer it, but anybody, not just Charlie, obviously. Now, I know one of your big points that you asked me a couple weeks ago about the road use agreement, and I think Nick did a good job of explaining it, was we make repairs and maintenance as the damage occurs, and that's clear in here. So it's not just we have to wait till the end. It's like Nick said, we bill them monthly. They pay us for the full cost, and who knows better than our own highway department, right? They know people drive on them every day. So Rachel and her department does the maintenance, does the repairs. We invoice them monthly. They give us our full cost back plus 5% on top of that.
Well,
That's no, I was going to say, and that's notwithstanding at the end of the project, whenever all the roads are fully repaired and brought up, an additional one pacer rating. I don't, maybe someone help me with that verbiage, beyond what they were when we started the project. So you asked that, Donnie. I want to make sure to tell you that was covered. We do not have to wait until the end of the project to make those repairs.
That Rachel and Brock had control, Nick said, well, we ain't doing until next month. If we feel we need it, we're doing it.
Yep.
That's what that road use agreement, I kind of feel like. We should have what roads they're using before we sign that agreement. That's kind of backwards to me, but. That's my opinion.
But regardless of what roads they're gonna use.
Well, I know,
We're gonna
Well,
do the same thing.
yeah, well. There might be a certain one that they
And-
can't.
And the way this is worded, it's not gonna be like the
Yeah.
other project where we've got a 2-year period where it's gonna be degraded.
And I don't wanna give them free reign to use whatever roads they want, so.
And we won't be able, by the way this contract's been written, we won't be able to go construction until Rachel has signed off on our traffic management plan and road use agreement. Or asset management plan, Jeff and HWC have executed, that we already have a contract with HWC included in your documents to do that.
I think I made a suggestion of a couple roads that you really can't tear up much more than they already are. Notably, what, the 300 east. East of 35 is already. You can't get much worse than what it is. Is that 300 east? 300 north, that's what it is, yeah.
I've talked just many times over that, we got control of the road, not road. Things. There are still our roads with other. Can't hear me? I told Charlie that I was talking to Nick and Justin many a time, that we got control of the road, not the solar zone. There are roads.
This should have everything in here that we've seen. I know you got a bunch of links to these over email. I thought it'd be easier. If you're like me, I like things in hand. So behind the road use agreements are also the road cut permits that were submitted along with the exhibits that show the schematics per engineering. So I didn't want to leave anything out. You guys can see, because that was a question on previous solar projects too. It's, hey, let's see the work that went into these road cut permits or variances that were applied for. I asked for them to submit that at the outset. So it's all there. So that way we don't have to go searching for documents. Lesson learned there, so we don't have to track things down.
So Berta,
I have a question, Justin, or.
when you're done with the meeting, I need you to
Yes,
sign this.
I can do that.
Okay.
I'm gonna be up there anyways later, but, so based on this new information about the priority liens. So for example, at Mammoth, they have already filed several of those with the recorder's office with a variety of parcels where they've got panels. So we already know that that's already a concern because we accepted the salvage value there and we don't have this new agreement with them, right? Next era, we may be in the exact same boat, maybe even worse, because we accepted the resale value of the panels. And now if they have a lien on them, we're not gonna be able to get anything for those. So I guess coming back to what Charlie said, my question becomes, it sounds to me like salvage value is something that we need to address in our current ordinance. I did talk to the planning department as well about this. I sent you guys a ton of documents around the decommissioning. So again, my question is, why are we not updating our ordinance instead of piecemealing agreements together on a regular basis like we keep doing? It's time for us to take a look at these ordinances and fix them so that this information is accurate on the ordinance moving forward.
But today we're working on the Hoosier one.
Right, I understand that, which isn't permitted yet. So again, why aren't we taking the little bit of time that we need to fix the ordinance instead of constantly making all of these little agreements outside of the ordinance? Especially knowing now that even Justin is admitting that, hey, we missed something here, right? 2 years ago, 4
Like I
years
said,
ago, well, potentially missed something, sorry.
No.
You know, that it came to light that maybe this lien issue could be an issue. So my point being that what else are we possibly missing as we continue to proceed with these projects? That's all.
So
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
we're going above and beyond the ordinance with this language here today and holding ourselves to higher standards. Again, as you point out, we're not going through permitting today. That will be later as a requirement of the permitting process. We first have to have road use and decommissioning executed before we can get our location improvement permit approved. Similarly, in the permitting, we are holding ourselves to higher standards there as well. County ordinances have, I think, 50-foot setbacks from residential property. We draw a 250-foot circle from the center of every home adjacent to our property and go up bigger. Landscape buffering, we do several rows of overlapping shrubs and evergreens and do far more than the ordinance requires. Good neighbor agreements, proactively offered to every neighboring residents participating in the project, again, not required by the ordinance. Just left off of that.
You got two more ahead of you, just Mr. Pugh. And again, I'll need you to sign after the meeting.
The last meeting, I was picking the new spoke with an engineering firm that offer their services to guide you, your team, to make sure all the structure balances were done. Does this feel a little rushed when you think we should wait for that?
So they would go back
Yeah,
up.
she was on the agenda to be here to continue that conversation. She didn't appear here,
I
so.
don't think we should wait for professionals to say yes, this lease and everything, I mean, where would you sit right now? We live on the next arrow. And you know what it is. It's this control, I just had to send another email raging this morning. Nobody's not, she said they are, they're not, if they are, they're not reporting it, not doing it. So, if you're gonna issue another road use agreement, hopefully all of them.
Yeah. Well, I'll just address it briefly. I mean, that was an potential enhancement to what we were already doing with the additional work that we contract Justin and Bob Aloy for. Those are still in place. Those are still part of the review process. And so the adding an additional check, so long as it's not prohibitively expensive, shouldn't hold up the process. It's not something that would, the absence of would be detrimental, I believe.
Don? We took the Railroad Township trustee out for a site visit for Nextera, just to address Mrs. Pugh's concern. They did inform us that they did acquire another tote of calcium chloride, so they're gonna do calcium chloride and then besides just water too. So we'll let you know, just the heavy rains, when it rains heavy, they can't apply it, they have to wait till.
They did apply for employer, they used to go somewhere. And it's in contact. I sent a picture of Donald to Rachel this morning, and it's at the corner of 500 and 900, and what happened is the pavement that wasn't torn up is now.
I already sent that to Steve and, they're getting with TNC.
My issue was, why does it come to the homeowner having, like, there was a road throughout last year, and why didn't they do it? Say, Rachel, we need somebody else. Well, that, I'm just warning, North Bend or South Bend, where your roads are not going to be very nice.
We have talked to Nick many times over the whole road deal. Is that all you have?
Yeah.
The lady beside. Okay, Justin.
So as Charles has brought up and mentioned that, from what I understand, he thinks that you guys should sit down and take a look at the ordinances and see what possible changes to beef up those ordinances need to be made, because it's a growing document. As these projects grow, these ordinances need to grow with them. So when you've got a commissioner sitting up there saying, I think we should take time to look at these ordinances and to make sure that we have absolutely everybody protected, not just solar, not just farmers, but everybody in the county protected. I would think that, as voting members up there, that they're making decisions that affect, every aspect of our everyday lives, that you want to take time to make sure that everything is properly placed, keeping everybody protected. Just like Roberta said, that it honestly makes a whole lot of sense to do that rather than just try to piecemeal. Every time we bring an issue up, oh, I'll fix that. So my point, if we were to sit down and take a look at these ordinances and do some rewriting they might be going above the ordinance and what the ordinance call for now, but who's to say that once we sit down and take a look at the ordinances and make the changes, who's to say that they're, you know, they're not gonna be going above our ordinances at that point, and say. So I think that we should remove it and not make any decisions. John says, he asked for it to be tabled because he just got the paperwork, hasn't had any time to go through it. You know, so like, let's table it. I'm not saying vote no, I'm saying just table it. Take the time to read through everything, because I pointed out at the planning commission meeting that every question that we ask always gets directed to one man. And because nobody has answers for us, there's only one man in this room that has answers. You guys should be able to answer those questions without having to look at anybody else. You know, so I would ask that you just table it, take some time to review the ordinances, see if there's any way to better protect the whole community.
Make sure you sign after the meeting. Sorry.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I mean, my understanding is you guys passed the first ordinance in 2019. You amended it in 2022. And I think anyone who's actually went line by line through that ordinance will see that it's covering every base, right? I've developed over 4 gigawatts of projects in almost 10 years. And I've seen a lot of different ordinances. And this one is definitely in the top tier of hitting everything. It's very thorough. Seems like it was well thought out. Some of the translations of it, even like we're doing things that to me initially were things that I wouldn't have expected. Like we're getting our internal landowners to sign waivers, like 2 people with leases that share a property line. We're getting them to sign waivers that say we don't have to set a fence for buffering, even though there's no residence or anything. So we're kind of taking it literally. And I just wanted to make that point that if you actually read through that ordinance, it's very solid. So I know I'm the solar company, but just wanted to put that perspective out there.
Yeah, thank you.
And so my rebuttal would be that at one point in time, you did ask us to come in, and Roberta took her time to go through several county ordinances and pick the best out of these ordinances, throw it all together. You invited us in to have a conversation about this ordinance. We were shut down within 5 minutes. Did you shut it down within the conversation down within the first 5 minutes? Did you ever take a chance to take a look at those ordinances? Because that's what I'm seeing. Solar wrote their own ordinances as opposed to the citizens doing their due diligence and research and creating something that protects everybody, but we were shut down immediately.
I know Charlie's saying he just got his. I've been working with Nick, Rachel, Brock, Justin for a month.
This meeting I'm talking about was months back.
Last year, we talked about last year when we rewrote the ordinance, Connie, and we had the meeting and like.
Yeah, that was, it was deliberated for much more than 5 minutes.
How I was it.
We had it in front of us for, what is it, a couple of weeks. You got that to me. Right, and there was discussion among, it looked like there was discussion amongst the community online for a few weeks leading up to that. So it was considered, it was found lacking, and we moved forward with what we had.
We'll go back and rewatch the meeting then. Okay.
So let's go on. Let's move on.
You know, I just had a question for you, or just a comment. And obviously, you know, I've had some answers because the commission had asked me several years ago to be the liaison, so I've been working with different places, so I know sometimes I've been referred to online and things, but I put a lot of time into this, a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions with attorneys, with the companies, everything else. So no fault to you. I just want to point that out to the public. Like when people want to condemn you for that, I volunteered to do that. In fact, a couple of times you even said, hey, you volunteered to do it, take the heat. So, you know, I have known a little more sometimes because of that, not to usurp you or anything, representing you outside of my council role. This is a volunteer. But the question I have, because this is on my agenda for tonight. And I'm posing this to Justin and all three of you, is that where do we draw the line though in some cases? Where we accept individuals as experts, when we have engineering firms, we have companies that have experienced all these things. Case in point, the decommissioning agreement. The other thing that because I asked this in one of my meetings where I was being asked this, or maybe one of yours, about who this person was representing. Do we all agree that the decommissioning actually, even though we're protecting the property owner and the company will be involved in decommissioning, not the public?
Right.
They don't have a dog in that fight. It's not their property. It's in no way. So would it be reasonable, at least for decommissioning for the future, if we ask for a letter from those property owners that they're picking a representative for them to continually ask us for questions, wanting to open things, and particularly for the decommissioning? Would that be reasonable to ask for that?
For the owners of the so.
Yes, of that group, because I mean, how do we keep on getting tortured, with these things? When we haven't even heard from these property owners that they want these individuals to represent them.
Right.
They're not representing, it's not a public versus solar in that case, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to ask that. Is that reasonable, Justin, to ask for that in that case, and instead of keep on hashing and discussing something that we're not?
Talking about if we were to adjust the ordinance in the future, could it be something?
No, I'm just saying in general, like if we have an individual that wants to come in and discuss decommissioning with us on behalf of the property owner, shouldn't the property owners have some kind of a say in saying, this is the person we want representing us, and they have the knowledge to represent us in that case?
Well, it's the case of an agenda item versus public comment. And I think you and I have had a discussion about this before, that, in general, I've seen this not just obviously with solar, but we have to be careful what we place people on an agenda for versus what we allow during public comment. Again, this applies writ large. I've had this problem down in Winnemac in the last couple of months, the town of Winnemac. So anybody has the right, obviously, during the public comment section to come in and voice their opinion, to present documents if they wish. But if you're asking, do we accept an individual's recommendation based on some predicated fact that maybe they're a professional in a field? I mean, we ask for their credentials if it's an agenda item, like anything else. So, I mean, you have to walk that line carefully, right? There's a difference between public meetings and public hearings. Obviously, public meetings are meetings held in public. You don't have to give public comment, but if you give public comment, you can't viewpoint discriminate. A public hearing, you affirmatively have to solicit remonstrances. So obviously, like this, for example, this is a public meeting. We don't have to take public comment, but since we've taken public comment, we can't then viewpoint discriminate and say, well, you can talk, but you can't. So there's a lot of things that go into this but you and I have had lengthy discussions about, should this really be an agenda item? Because if we put something on the agenda as an agenda item, then aren't we making the same call as viewpoint discrimination during public comment? And we do have to be careful about that, just with anything. If we say, well, we'll allow these people to speak for or against solar as an agenda item, but we're not going to let these people speak. We can't do that. So, writ large, we have to take a stance. This constitutes an agenda item. Is this a vendor? Is this, we have the ability to conduct who gets on as an agenda item, as long as they have something to offer. Right. Contracts, public charities, but public comment, if you allow that like you have today, they can offer whatever they want. So sorry, that's kind of a convoluted answer to say it depends, which everybody hates that.
So what you're saying is definitely for public comment, we should have it in the public comment section. So my other question will be then, because I asked this in one of my meetings, I received a lot of ridicule for it, though. It is reasonable, though, to ask somebody that's claiming to be an expert who they're representing, though, correct? Especially when it's relative to decommissioning. When personally, like as your representative as a liaison with solar, but also for my duties within the council, I would like to know if that person has been appointed, in this case, like for the decommissioning, by the property owners to represent them.
Well,
Just like if
without the property owners explicitly stating that to us, I would just assume that whoever's speaking isn't representing a property owner.
You can always ask for credentials. You just can't stop somebody from talking during public comment for lack of credentials, if that answers.
Yeah, I wouldn't assume that anyone speaking is representing anyone but themselves when they're speaking.
Go ahead, Mel.
Hi, I'm Linda Bell. My husband was Jack, a longtime county councilman here, as his dad was commissioner many, many years. I grew up here, Jack grew up here, we're fully invested in this county, we raised our children here, this is our daughter Jill, she's all an attorney. Jack and I signed on this project with Hoosier Solar in October 2020. And we've been fully invested in it, he has since passed away, but he wanted to see this come to fruition for our children and our grandchildren. We are fully aware at the very beginning of the lease of the decommissioning project and road use in the whole bit. We signed to that. We're landowners working with the other landowners near and around us for Starke Central, fully on board. And we'd like to get this moving a little quicker. It's been a long time. And as landowners, it's up to us what we do with our land. It's not the public's business. I'm sorry, but it's not. We own the land. His parents owned it. His grandparents owned it. We're a long time invested in Starke County. And we want to see this happen. And it's getting real old.
My name's Jill, maiden name Bell. I'm in my 26th year of practicing law. And I've looked at a lot of ordinances in my life, and Hoosier Solar is going above and beyond with this ordinance. They fully considered setbacks. They're doing good neighbor agreements. They're planting evergreens. They're doing more than is required with this ordinance. And I don't think there's any reason to table this. I think it's time to go forward and give the landowners what they want.
And also the benefit to the county. Jack is a former 20-year county councilman here and president for most of those years. That was a big thing to him. What? Because he loved Starke County, so did I. I loved growing up here in town at Knox, and my heart is still here. We moved to Marshall County just a number of years ago to be near our daughter and our grandchildren, but we still continue to farm here. I still run the farms here for Jack. That was his whole life. And we're fully aware of all this. We as the landowners signed an agreement with them, going over the lease and over it for a couple of years and making sure it was what we wanted and it was good for the county. Number one, look at the benefit to the county, for heaven's sakes. How could people not want this? Let's let Starke County grow. You need that money, for crying out loud. Jack knows as a councilman, where's the money coming from? I heard this all those years from here. This person wants this business wants that. Where's it coming from? Well, this is a chance to get the money into the county. And yes, it benefits the landowners, but for crying out loud, we pay those taxes. Jack worked his butt off for 60 years in those fields, coming in filthy every day. He worked hard. And this, yes, will benefit our children and our 5 grandchildren, but the county also.
I just have one more comment. I hear a lot of people from the public saying, well, let's table this. Let's look at what more needs to be done with the ordinance. There's nothing more that needs to be done with an ordinance. This is a stall tactic. Nick has set forth here today everything that Hoosier Solar is doing above and beyond with this ordinance. They've demonstrated time and time again, they're investing in this county. We should all be on board with Hoosier Solar investing in Starke County. And we need to move forward with this and not delay anymore.
We keep signing up before you leave, please.
And as a landowner, we as the landowners in these projects are taking the biggest risk. We own the land. That's our lifeblood and income to our families. We're trusting them to do the right thing with our land. My son David is in Bloomington. He's a computer software engineer and architect, fully on board because he totally believes in environmental green energy. My granddaughter, her daughter, is going to law school for environmental law. We're fully into this, and we trust our land to them. Bottom line, it's no one else's business.
Why do we have a decommissioning agreement for the county?
She's already spoken. Can I have a turn? We had hands over here.
Yeah, Marcia's had her hand up for a while.
Marcia?
I have a couple of questions. Could I go back to the road use agreement issue? I I have a home on 250 North. The Bell property that's going into solar is half a mile from my home, thereabouts. Couple questions. I'm assuming 250 North would be a main road to bring in whatever would need to be brought in for those projects. Well, something interesting is happening. And I went to the county garage and supposedly a report was filed. There's a ditch across from my home. And there are 5 places where the ditch is caving in. The banks are caving in. The road 250 on my side of the road, especially where my drive is deteriorating because there are chunks of blacktop that I'm picking up all the time and getting rid of because the road is breaking apart. My question would be, since I filed a report, one of the holes is so deep, I've stuck a hole down in there. It appears to be going under the road. The washout or whatever you want to call it. There are 5 of them in front of my house. I can take pictures and, and send them to you all. But I did file a report to let the county highway know that this could be a potential issue with the road. So now if we have all of these heavy trucks, and mind you, we do have quite a few semis that go down that road because it's a good road to get to the co-op. A lot of farm ground in the area, so they're transporting grain in semis. That hasn't even been taken care of.
How long ago did you file
About 3, 4 weeks ago.
it? Let's give them a little time. We've had these storms, we've had all these trees. Still got people complaining about trees being on the road.
Well, I understand that. I'm more worried when we're talking about a road use agreement and a project going in where I believe 250 would be probably a main road. You're gonna start.
Actually, that was part of a discussion I had with Nick, a road to avoid, that and.
300 north.
Well, I like using 300 north because most of it's dirt and you can't tear it up much more than it already is.
Well, the
Um,
farmer uses
but-
300 north
Yeah,
to go, so.
Right. so that, yeah, I have a preference of using that road over 250 north. I would like to minimize the traffic on 250 north and 150. Trying to remember my geography off the top of my head. I think it's 150 north or perhaps 100. There you go. Big maps that I can actually see. All right. So. Yeah, I would. Well, yeah, there shouldn't be any reason to use 150 north. 200 north is gravel only for what, 3/4 of a mile?
No, it's paved all the way to 5.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it's paved all the way to 500, but between 500 and 35, most of it is gravel, and then all of 300 between 600 east and 35 is gravel. And those are, I've had the conversation with Nick, those are the roads I would prefer traffic stick to is 300 north and 200 north.
Well, the road that was in the 300 east of 500 is, well, they just did chip and seal not too long ago on that, so I know that that's the only part that I know of on 300 where it would be used.
Is between 35 and, yeah.
And then I thought from 500 to 35 on 200, that's all block.
No.
Yeah, it is. I drive it all the time.
I don't remember.
Well,
I know when it dumps out at 600, it's gravel. Yeah.
to 600.
And 500 itself between 200 and 300 is gravel. Right?
500 at 200 to to, from 500 east to 600 is gravel, that, but 500 on 200, 500 to 35 is blacktop. I got that.
Chip seal.
My second question has to do with drainage. And I know that's not a part of this, but it's something to think about. The fields, I had to build my house out of the ground because the water table is high. I know the corner at 500, 250, that ground is low because when they run their pivots, there's water standing all the time, and it takes a long time for that water to drain away. Where's the drainage gonna go? Because I also say taxes are a conservancy ditch based upon the assessment of our house. So I'm assuming the ditch that's down there is also part of that conservancy district. Where's the drainage going?
I can answer that question if you want, even though this is a drainage board meeting. That did, all the ditches in our Starke Central project are either governed by the 4-county drainage board or the Bailey Cox Newton Conservancy District. Both of those bodies and the surveyor have reviewed all of our documentation, finding that we will not adversely affect drainage by crossings on our project.
I told her what would be the issues with drainage on other projects and if we have.
I was wanting to address, it's important that we consider the benefits that go to people. Linda and Jill eloquently talked about the benefits to landowners. We have other landowners that feel the same way. But I want to address what the county gets. Nick had mentioned it would be, it's estimated there'd be about $1 million a year for quite a number of years. That's money that the county would never get otherwise. And they can do some things with that they would have never been able to do otherwise. If we keep postponing this and delaying, it'll probably never happen. And I think by having an opportunity with the project to benefit landowners and to benefit the county at large, because projects you all could decide to use this money on is going to benefit the whole county. I think it is good for you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I was just, the thing that I started to say earlier is, I was talking to some of our council members and I forget who else, but, one of the questions that came up when I talked to decommissioning concerns is, why are we even involved? And it brought up a valid point, right? So it's your land. So if it doesn't matter, because it's their land and they've signed a lease with Hoosier Solar or whoever, then why are we even involved in the decommissioning at all? Other than the fact that what we've been told repeatedly is that this ensures that the county is protected. Well, then why not put it back on the landowner and say, hey, if they go belly up in 5 years, it's up to you guys to remove all of that or have your own decommissioning agreement.
Well, it's philosophically, it's more of a hedge against allowing a property to become blighted in the future after these projects are done. And then it does become a taxpayer problem.
Right.
This prevents that from happening. That's why I have had any interest in ensuring that there are decommissioning plans in place.
So then that brings back it circles us back to where we are, which is why would we worry about it if it's their land, their argument? So our argument as taxpayers is that it could fall on the taxpayers. Hence, we should make sure that we're either fully protected or not involved at all. And then if that's the case, then there needs to be some ordinance to enforce that, should the landowner not decommission, then you can go after them or whatever. I'm just talking out loud, but that's
Right,
really.
no, it's all mitigations for potential threats.
Right.
And this is between the parties involved, probably the best that can be negotiated. And any good negotiation, nobody walks away happy. So I think, with what we put into the ordinance, with what has been proposed to us, it's something I'm comfortable with, to ensure that, what the county will look like in 30 years when I'm a little closer to being old and decrepit. I'll still be happy to be a resident of Stark County.
Don. And if I could just rebut that, since the council was brought into this, and as the president of the council, I represent my team. I'll address that as well. I'm surprised that they didn't know in their discussions with Miss Lee that the reason why we would have a stake in that is just because we have tax revenue from those properties. But really, it was more a good faith thing where we're looking out for the property owners. I mean, I think that's probably the main thing. She even said before that that's what she was doing, was looking out for the property owners. Well, the county has a stake in that because, as Mark just pointed out, if that property is left so it cannot be used, then we're not gonna be able to yield the tax revenue from it. It's gonna cause a problem with the revenue, so.
So why should we be looking out for the property owners when the property owners are telling us?
I'm not,
our
well,
business?
that's his point of view, but my point of view is it's a mitigation to prevent these properties from becoming blighted if these projects die before they're planned to, or if
At the end of the useful life.
basically it's to avoid the situation we found ourselves in with the Cisco property. I do not want to have to deal with that ever again, and this is insurance to keep that from happening.
Right, but if the property owner looks at, everything and sees that decommissioning falls down 100% on the property owner, that might make them reconsider a couple things when they realize they've got to spend millions of dollars to clean the mess up. And, what we're doing is giving them a safety net. We can do this for, especially with the ones that don't even live in the county anymore. We can do this because we don't have to deal with it. And then when it becomes a mess, we don't have to deal with it anyway because the county will deal with it. That's what we're doing, is giving them a safety net.
So what else you got, Charles?
I don't have anything else.
You're needing this approved today? If you would, sorry, one more.
I've got multiple issues with this coming in our neighborhood. I farm in the North Bend area. This is literally all around me, all around our family ground, everything I farm. I'm losing farm ground because of this. I'm getting more water heading our way quicker because of parking lot that's gonna be going in on Toto. It's gonna hit our drainage, fill us up quicker, and we can't get rid of it to the south, down in the Gulfy. The Gulfy jumps out, goes across our farm. I lose crop because of the flooding. I get more deer, wildlife on our property because of all the fenced in area. We have to look at it, we have to deal with it. We still pay taxes on this.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Ian Schaller, I live in the North Bend area. $10 million invested out of 600 million shire, from what I can remember from the open house. Yeah, so you're hoping to get started in 8 months and be done 18 months after that. Where's the other 590 million coming from? And we've seen it, people have mentioned other projects in the area.
Our capital investment, the financiers have reviewed, support the documentation of bonding from our insurance company provided today.
So that money's not set somewhere. It's subject to changes in the economy.
Because of the
changes in
cost,
land.
no, because of the cost of capital, we are well capitalized. As several landowners have said that they reviewed before they would sign agreements with us, they well reviewed our high capitalization. But no, we don't have money sitting in the bank today because from the cost of capital, that wouldn't make sense to let $600 million just sit in the bank today. But we are highly capitalized as the documents we provided have proven.
You can sign up later when you need one.
Donnie?
Sorry. Go ahead.
County have a plan with what they're gonna do with this extra money for the county?
We're not right now, we don't know exactly what we're gonna do with it, but we're definitely gonna use it with good sources for the county. It'll be huge for our county. The ambulances, the fire departments, the
Parks.
police department, the parks.
It's gonna cost us taxpayers money once the money dries up. That's why I asked to see, that's why I asked how we not use that money in the program. That's how we're gonna fall on the taxpayers' shoulders.
Right, and that's what we're working on. We haven't set nothing in stone, so I'm not gonna tell you, we're gonna do this and then. But yeah, the money will be used wisely for you, if that answers your question.
What about
One-
the property owners whose property values go down because feel so close to our property? Does anyone think of that?
Can I answer that? Ron?
Well, that's. Property values are. Pretty. Trying to think how to best put this, I mean, they fluctuate regardless. In recent years, they have been on an increase outside of, how they've been affected from. These particular projects across the board, it's gotten to a point in the state of Indiana where it's. The values, the way values are calculated and the way they're have increased. Have caused, several state level policymakers to consider what relief can be done. For property tax increases. So I don't know. That just viewing solar as the primary impactor to what property values do is the most correct way to view this. And I really any activity in a property that increases its ability to generate a revenue, I don't see how that would negatively affect the value of that property or its neighboring properties.
Don't do it now. She gave us a price that she was going to list it at. And she and two others said, there's no way you get that pricing. Because you can't-
And was that lower than your assessed value? Okay.
They tell me what three of them said. you could do, but not
So just to add on to what Mark said, I think that that's a very valid comment. Now, I'm one of 7 on the council. So if push comes to shove, we do have the solar revenue. I'm willing to hear that and consider if property values do go down. It's one of the things on the list. Because we have 7 people and the mission for us is to go out to our constituents and hear what they're looking for. I already have plans. I've talked to all the township trustees about us splitting up, going to township meetings, inviting people to talk about things that they want to see. I've already talked to at a couple of township meetings, and mostly people are talking about trails and parks. But what I will say is, on the council, we're also tracks, or some of us at least, I don't want to speak for, I'll speak for myself. I've been looking at studies so far on these projects. A lot of times property value has interestingly gone up. It's valid. I can send you those studies. But I think it's worth a consideration if there's a scenario like that. But I know who the real estate person is that Mrs. Pugh is referring to. And I've looked at some of those inventories. Most of the properties that have sold in Starke County all sell for over asking. But it also has to do with, like you said, assessed value and I said your name because you just mentioned it. I'd rather not say, but
It's not like.
oh, well, since I didn't say what it was, it's hard to know that, but I'm just saying that. Yeah, so far though, I'm just saying that looking at the property values, because this is important to people on the council, and we do watch that in our areas, what's going on. So far, property has sold for over asking. Hopefully that continues. One of the things that people don't remember, and this is misconstrued constantly online, is that those properties that are owned by these property owners go from like 1,000 an acre to 13,000 an acre. That buys down your the investment that you have to make on your property taxes. So that holds a lot of that increase off that happens annually. Because I see that all the time. Starke County's raising our taxes. That's absolutely not true. There are some small increments that are dictated by the state. We haven't raised anybody's taxes. So I just want to make that clear that county council has not raised anybody's taxes.
Well, you want to hear some of the well-dressed gentlemen and the producers?
You have a chance to rebuttal, so.
I'm a property owner. I own property next to the family. On God's Lake. Got the same concerns you had about property values going down, 140
one today, I did almost the third one than what I would have got. Not part of solar. I don't participate, I did not participate in that solar, it's fair farm ground. And I have solar all around me. It has not affected my property value. So when solar's back.
Hey, Justin, hold on for
Let's see, or you want to hear from her? Let's hear from her. Mrs. Pugh, or
They pre-study is only for the money behind it.
Do it one time, Roberta.
Yeah, so I just wanna say, and we've gotten off topic for one. We
Exactly.
always do.
Way off.
But that being said, we brought up the situation with taxes, and you're absolutely correct, Dave. You and I had some separate conversations, and our taxes have not gone up. Our percentage of taxes have not gone up. You can all in this room probably agree, however, our assessed value has. In a lot of research that's been done, what happens is when we have companies coming in and doing the solar, it absolutely drives radars up all around the country that, hey, what's going on in Starke County, right? And it basically falsely inflates the cost of that land, especially when we have solar companies also purchasing land for more than what you would have been able to sell it to another farmer. So yes, the value of our land in the area has gone up thanks to solar. The disadvantage to that is all of our taxes will also go up, driving poor Mr. Jones, who lived in this county for 60 years and now can't afford the taxes because his property value has been driven up and his retirement no longer will cover the cost of that. So I'm not saying that, I'll agree, we may not have to sell the house for what we can if we're right next to it. In the end, yes, the value of the property in the area will go up. It'll continue to go up based on the fact that now we have less land available for Mr. Kuziak to actually farm. So now when he does want to farm something or buy it, it's going to cost him more to do it because there's less land available. No matter what you do, there's always there's issues, no matter how you look at it, is all that I want to point out. It can be a benefit, but it can also be a negative.
One quick time, Justin.
Hey, Tori had her hand up.
Who did?
Tori.
I'm sorry, go on, Tori.
Next.
Raise your hand higher.
So I just wanted to point out, like, the assessments. Indiana is a market value state, so every time you see like your assessments going up without improving your property, it's based off of the market. So when you purchase a home for more than what it's worth, it drives that market up. That's not anything to do with like, because there's solar out there on the road. That's just how the state of home works. However, that is only a small percentage of the tax bill. So just because your assessment went up doesn't mean that your taxes are going to jump through the roof, and there hasn't been a big jump since solar has been here. You're talking about an assessment, and once again, what you're missing is it is a market value state, so that goes off of purchases of homes. So when you or your neighbors move in here and you have a $100,000 home that you just bought for $150,000, you're saying it's worth $150,000. So that is driving your neighborhood to raise up. It has nothing to do with solar.
So solar purchasing $20,000 per acre doesn't drive.
The lease, it's not a purchase.
No, they
That's not-
purchase.
that's what it-
Let's move on. Darren,
Purchase.
First of all, they have purchased land solar companies have for more than market value. But I want to point out that there's somebody sitting in this room, and I know two other people personally, who have gotten letters from out-of-state land speculators who have noticed an increase, and it doesn't need to be a large one, in the land value in Starke County. So then the out-of-state land speculators start buying up all the small parcels they can, betting on it will continue to increase in the future. Which again, takes land out of the system, puts land in demand, and every time, plus farmers looking for that their land has now been leased to solar. Now they're out looking for new land, again, increases demand, which increases value. Increases prices.
so
Prices go up, our taxes follow, shortly behind by 1 or 2.
This is the McHenry, we have a property out by exactly, the county campground area.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely correct. We've received letters like that for our ground. That is happening in Starke County. Not recently, but we've had that in the past and sent them back and said, no, thank you.
So I need a motion. Are we gonna accept this?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the decommissioning and road use. What's this agreement as presented?
Both projects.
For, yeah, for both North Bend and Stark Central, we're calling it, yeah.
Second. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I oppose. So I didn't get to read through it all good.
There's a binder there, Nani, if you could, since Troy did vote for it. Yes. There are spots for signatures. I went one binder to hold already, so that way we don't have.
Okay, all right.
an issue.
Thank you, guys. Anything else?
I'm good. Huh?
Okay.
I just got a new. So. He has a very famous.
Nick, you're free to want to hang out there.
All right, and we just want to make sure.
Well, he's hanging out till he gets this.
Yeah.
He's waiting. I was very good friends with both your Uncle Joe and your dad. I served on the FSA board with Joe. I loved him like a brother. Your dad was our farm person, but I was just telling Pyramid here. We're more impressed with your famous cousin. There's a success story. So anyway,
Thank you guys for what you did. Thank you guys. Thank you for what you do. Good to meet you guys.
Amen.
Good to meet you. Thank you.
I tabbed.
Okay.
Thank you, Charlie.
Just here, yes.
They said they can't, yeah, they covered that first. Yeah, really.
Hey, Dan, you still got your
They can't make.
Steve business, your
Consulting business, yeah.
are you still doing that stuff there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
Mars. I didn't hear that correctly. He couldn't hear earlier. The golf cart ordinance, we can't do anything with it. because
Right.
That falls on the state.
Correct.
State road.
Right. Thank you.
He was just asking because he didn't hear it earlier.
No.
I wanted to make sure I heard it correct.
They can cross it, but they can't drive on
Mhm.
Yeah, so they can-
legally.
So why is it?
You have to have a car seat if you're in a car. Thanks for a very. Because you're doing it on the county road. Less than a third of the revenues were. Those are just looking at it.
No, that's. No one went.
Make sure you got on that. Please.
No, I just.
You're gonna be. All right, we're moving forward with the meeting. Mayor.
Okay, so, you guys, hired Bob Aloy to do a survey over County Road 750 North.
Yep.
Over by Coons Lake. This is the survey he did. So I'm looking for you guys' acceptance on it, and then I'll have it recorded in the recorder's office. That shows what's in the right of way and what's not,
Remind me, why were we doing this?
because of the two-story deck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was
Because of
way,
encroachment on the easement. All right.
it was way over,
Yeah.
Just wanna look at it.
because I think even part of the house is over the line,
Oh,
isn't it?
yeah, there's,
Real cool.
Yeah.
oh, no,
It's
there's
over.
2 feet.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't see that. I knew that.
yeah.
That.
I mean, I don't know how long that's been like that. I mean,
At
until,
least 2 years.
but, like the neighbor even has, which is removable and they wouldn't have to get a permit through us, but they've got like a patio paver, like
Yeah.
fire pit area.
Yeah.
One of the neighbors has a well
Oh.
in the right of way, so I mean. And I mean, there's a huge tree in there too.
Right.
So, I don't know where you guys wanna go forward with that.
Well, yeah, let's.
I did send the Klein property owners a letter to remove the deck within 30 days of receiving it. They did receive the letter certified from us, so.
So when that 30 days expires, what's the next step?
Then it'll go back to Justin to,
Okay.
So you need a motion on this, or you just need our
To
approval?
accept that.
to accept this.
Well, I'll move to accept the survey that was conducted on 750 North.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Justin, are you looked in on this 750 North thing? And what our,
Property.
the proper course of action for us? Should we
Yeah.
make a decision to move forward in enforcing and reclaiming our easement?
Yes, yeah. I remember the last action on it.
I sent a letter to Klein requesting that the deck be removed within 30 days.
That's right. It's on the 9th, right? August 9th, I think. That
Can't
big stick.
remember. Yeah, I can't remember offhand.
I think it was because it's
So, but,
September
yeah,
9th.
Yeah.
The clock is ticking
Yeah.
at this point.
But whether or not we wanted to move forward with any of the other things in the right of way, that's,
I'll leave that up to you guys.
Well. It's up to us what we want to do with it. I mean, that's. I would say whatever the most consistent enforcement,
Right, because it will make
Has
one,
been-
but you gotta do it all.
right, so.
because I mean, like even here, there's part of like a sidewalk that's in it too.
Someone's out here ring video doorbell.
The Amazon driver.
Probably.
I mean, yeah, my point of view is, you know, it's our easement and they didn't ask,
So
there was no notification to us that any of that was gonna be done, and I know we've,
So like the issue with like this here with the patio paver, like fire pit area. I'm not sure who would enforce that because that's not something, like I was explaining, that we would take a permit for in the planning commission.
Does anybody take ownership of it? Has anybody claimed ownership of the pit? Same party that has the deck.
No, it's the neighbor next door that would own that. And then like this well over here, the well, I
No,
don't take a
that's-
permit for that either.
if they have a well and there's no permit for the well. Isn't that normally done?
I don't take permits for wells.
No, but
Yeah, it should be through the health.
It would go
Right.
with the health department or the conservancy out there. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, we can send a letter to anybody that has anything in the right of way and then we can deal with the.
you guys think is the best way to handle this, because it's a mess.
Well, the fire pit's not permanent. I mean, from over your head. I mean, it's up to you guys.
But like this person here, they've got like their concrete driveway that extends into it.
So, yeah, the real issue is the permanent structures that are in there. I think we need to be as far as that goes, we've sent the notice and we just need to plan for what do we do when they don't remove it by the deadline. What's the next action after that?
Well, we're gonna have to go one of two ways. I'm gonna have to see which one is legally permissible. One is we tear it down, bill them for the cost.
Yeah.
Or two, we order them to do it and then enforce that through filing of a, yeah, civil action.
Which, like I said, the deck we've already sent.
By the time we meet again, that deadline will have passed and you'll have information on which is the more legal course of action.
I tend to think that probably having them remove it themselves, because if we start tearing off the deck and damage their house, I don't know that we want to be on the hook for that, but.
While Mary's up here, the city wanting copies like this, I would like to waive the price of the fee of them.
What's, do we have an idea how much?
It'd be, they're wanting 12 copies, or they're wanting 2 sets of copies. It's 12 pages, so 24.
This
24 pages.
this size.
Or this size. So usually they'd be like $5 a piece.
Yeah, I think in the spirit of maintaining a cordial relationship with the city, waiving those fees for specifically for the city in this instance is warranted.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep.
And tell them that.
Yeah, I already scanned it and gave them a scanned copy of it, but
Thank you.
on that, so.
Rachel. Yeah.
Huh?
I got one.
Oh, do you have one?
It's in that picture report.
All right.
Which road is this?
Paving operations has been in full swing for the past few weeks. The new paver is working out perfectly. We've paved 1/3 of Boa Shores. This will be a multi-year project in which we'll have everything newly paved within about 3 to 4 years in Boa Shores. We have also paved 700 south between 975 east and 1100 east, 850 west between State Road 10 and 700 south, and then 650 west south of 500 south. When we paved 850 west between State Road 10 and 700 south, we left the road closed overnight so it could set up a little bit before traffic used the roadway, but we still had equipment that went around the road closure signs and it deaded the new pavement. So I wanted to show you a picture of that.
And that'll be there forever.
Is there
Even under chip and seal.
any track?
Yeah,
Did
sure.
we see where the tracks were leading to and who might have done it?
The tracks did not lead into any of the fields. It
Mm.
went straight down, so I'm not sure why they went around the road closure signs just to use the road.
And all day long, they didn't use that road, it wasn't like they was in somebody's way.
Okay.
That's hard.
This week, we're gonna continue to make FUD to continue our paving operations. We gave you a list below that is what we will tackle within the next few weeks, once the FUD has set up. There are a few other roads that we may look into, but I need to see where we are material wise and budget wise after we finish the roads listed above. Along with our paving operations, we continue to chip up brush. And we also have begun our crack sealing operations this week. 250 North is getting done, well, they're starting on 250 North today. Some other crack seal roads is 700 East, south of State Road 8, Range Road. One more than I think. So oh yeah, I gave you a list of the roads that were crack sealing. Due to budget constraints, I can only get 5 pallets of crack sealing sealed material at this time, so we'll see how far we can get with that. Under outstanding projects, we still have a few projects that are waiting to be scheduled. The CCMG 2023-02 chip seal. This was awarded to Central Paving last year. This consists of chip sealing Total Road between Highway 23 and County Line, and also 1150 East between 225 South and 625 South. This should only take 2 days, but I have not heard from Central Paving as far as when they will start the project, and we're getting toward the end of season for chip seal, so we keep trying to call them daily. CCMG 2024-01, the HMA overlay. This was awarded to Milestone Construction. This consists of a HMA overlay on 600 North between 750 East and State Road 23, 400 North between US 35 and Range Road, and the newly constructed road in Deerview Estates, also known as Johnson Subdivision. Work has not yet started on the salt shed roof, but he should be there within a few weeks. You know,
And how long does that construction,
the salt shed.
how long does that take to build that? Started, okay.
I'd say week at the most.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was looking for, is this a weeks long timeline, months long, or if they don't get it done?
Yeah.
Is it not gonna get done before they need to bring in and store some salt? How are we doing on salt, by the way? Do we have those contracts in place for the winter
Yeah,
yet?
so we did bid with the state. So we do have, I believe I did 800 tons because we still had some extra. We had about 400 tons left over from last year. Normally, we would do around 1,200.
When are they starting this?
For the
By the school?
HMA.
Yeah.
They called to get some information of who their point of contact will be with the construction and everything. I don't think we're on the schedule yet, but I'll check with them again. Any questions?
Is there anything we can do for that farmer for doing that to the road?
I could bill them, but I don't know exactly who did it, so, but yeah, I mean, I
Is
can't.
there anything we can do to smooth it out?
So we did run the roller over it, again, because we were still in that location.
Okay.
If we weren't in that location, I'm not
And you
hauling the
caught
roller
it.
out there to,
And you caught it in time.
and we caught it in time the next morning.
Okay.
So it is a little smoothed out. I have not checked it lately to see if more equipment has been down there. I mean, Pug takes a little bit to set up, so that's why we leave the road closed, because just let it set up a little bit.
Right.
But so what really disgruntled me about this is they went around the road closure signs. And we have the road closed for a reason. You may not understand the reason, but we do it for a reason.
Exactly. You didn't leave it closed, just leave it closed.
Right.
Don? Just want to let both of you know, Platinum Equipment's been trying to call me. I was kind of taking myself out of that unless you wanted me to. Are you gonna call them about the bucket truck?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to go through all those links yet.
no problem, but you got his number? Their
Yes,
number?
in the email. Is that the one email that you forwarded to me?
I think there was 2. I'll send you Platinums just to
Okay.
make sure you got it. The other thing, just really fast about the highway. I talked to Jim Pressel about this, and he's gonna talk to somebody downstate out of Port County, but as a resident, I had an observation. I talked to you about this, Don, when we were out there looking at those pumps at the park. I was waiting by Tracy's house there on that curve. At least 10 semis came through there, or 5 semis. One of them was a wide load. My question is, I think there's a big risk for people, especially along our beach and all those residents that are through there with all that truck traffic. It's crazy. Now, I know 14's closed down, but I went and talked to the people that live on that road, and they said there's still semis that go through there all the time. What I'd like to do is ask the state to work with us on some kind of a bypass to bypass some of that. I think it's ridiculous, it's dangerous, it's hard on their own.
This is due to 10 being the detour route for 14.
Supposedly that's part of it, but I talked to some of the property owners and they said that's got semis going down it all the time because it's mapped as 10.
Yeah.
So I feel that it's dangerous. Maybe some Best Lake people are here. So anyways, he's gonna look into it. I'll share that, but like I said, I'm not raising that as at the council. I'm not trying to get out of my lane, but I observed it while I was sitting there. Like I said, at least 5, one of them was a wide load.
You got a business right there on the corner there, across from the pub restaurant. They got semi trucks in there every day. And that's, you get in and out.
Yeah, well. Or maybe at least through that area,
Yeah.
that section, there might be some way to bypass it with one of our county roads and the state can help develop it with us.
State highway.
So normally
Well-
the state will not ever detour
Can't
a
keep the
county
golf
road
carts
that
off
go to
there,
state
bro.
for their liability.
They're working on it. I hope so. Hope you're gonna let the sheriff know he needs to do something about it. It's not the sheriff, it's the state. Like you said. The sheriff doesn't have your jurisdiction on a state road? It's a state highway. He doesn't write a ticket for somebody on a state highway. He probably could. I'll bet he can. I bet if he caught me out here in 35 going 100 mile an hour, he'd probably send an officer after me.
No, do you use the
It's rocket.
Yeah, running pump, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's my lucky day. You guys have been talking about roads, and
Yeah.
that's what's bothering me.
Oh, just wait till next year.
Yeah, okay, we'll wait until next year.
No, I mean, as far as the discussion about roads, it's gonna get
So-
even bigger.
County, line road between Pulaski County and Starke County.
Yeah.
There's a man that's excavating black dirt, hauling it to LaPorte and selling it. I have no problem with that. But he's moving his, steel tracked hydraulic hoe, his excavator up and down the road. He has a bulldozer with cleats on it going up and down the road. So I called Rachel. Rachel still?
She's still there.
And she said, we have no ordinance against that. I can't believe that in Starke County, like other counties, that it's against the law to run a steel track machine on a blacktop road. Now, Don and Rachel's looked at it. They say there's no damage. I disagree. I think you'll see a lot of damage come spring when the freezing and thawing is over. So what I'm here today for is just to simply ask you all to consider making an ordinance that makes people responsible when they tear up the roads. You have that one over that way.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's all I'm here for. And after hearing you all talk, and I shouldn't have been put on the agenda for what I have, but I think that Starke County should consider an ordinance that would protect the roads, our county assets from being destroyed. And that's all I'm here for, just to ask you to consider.
So could you come back to us with a list of counties who have ordinances in place?
If
and
you
an
would tell me
example?
to do that, I would do that. And matter of fact, I would even help you write.
Well,
it.
that's what I'm actually getting at, you know, because you say there's counties that have it. I'd like to know who does.
Okay, very good.
And I'd like to take so that way I can take a look at what they've got in place and see how closely what they have could fit our needs. And
But
the need that you're bringing in front of us.
But irregardless, of whether it's a farmer or whether it's commercial, we need to protect our roads because it's getting more and more expensive to repair them. And so that's why I brought it to you. That's just for your consideration. So I will do that.
Thank you.
If you instruct me to.
Please.
Am I free to go? All right, thank you.
Thanks
For your time, your consideration.
Roberta.
Sorry, I covered some of it just in our other conversation, so hopefully it won't be too long. Okay, I have a question from. So I know we're still talking to VS Engineering, correct? Is that still on the table? I know she didn't show up today, but
I'll have to see where we're at after the no show today.
gotcha.
In the past, I usually fire employees that are no call no show.
Right, well, they're not employed yet though, right? And if not them, maybe we can look and I'm sure there's other companies. But the reason that one of the many reasons that I'm really in favor of this is I'd like to bring to your attention. I was recently at the Fort County Drainage Board meeting. And one of the things that came up was for Hoosier's permit that they're not 100% sure yet where they may be going under the roads and things like that. That there's some confusion on which road that they might use. And I asked the question, I said, okay, well, just out of curiosity, because I knew about this. I said, let's say that they change it from 500 and they move it to 400, whatever the road was, you might remember, I don't. But, and I said, would there be a public meeting? Because that would be a variance from the original permit. And they said, well, of course, that would be a public meeting. Because it's a variance to the original road usage or the original agreement. What I'm confused on is that we have a petition for a variance. This goes back to my binders for a variance to county regulated drain right of ways for Nextera, or wait, let me double check myself. Yes, Dunsbridge Nextera. And their original permit was issued in 2022. We approved this variance on 6/7 of 2023 with no public meeting. Now, I took this to the surveyor and he told me, his words, not mine, was, well, they needed it done sooner and we didn't have a meeting coming, so we just approved it. That was my reaction, Mark. So my question is, again, as we're proceeding with these larger projects, and I get it, it's a lot of moving parts. How do we make sure that stuff like this is not slipping through the cracks? That's where a company like VS Engineering, who's monitoring the project. For us, we're a small county. We have 2 people in our surveyor's office, right? So what are we doing, or what are we going to do to address, one, why this took place? And I have a copy where you can see that he just went to the drainage board president, had him sign it, and they did not do a meeting. The next meeting, they talk about the fact that they did this. But that was in September, after they'd already approved it. We also, from what they could not provide me with any of the actual locations. So when you look at this, there should be amendments that show, hey, these are where we want to put the new locations, and we don't have any of that. So it's just really concerning that, again, these are the things that are kind of happening. And I know you guys can't possibly oversee every single document, but this is just one more reason that I do believe that we need to look at something along the way with a company like VS Engineering. I know we also talked about the permit or not the permit, the changes to the ordinance. There are several things that I know I sent you guys a ton of documents that I think we do need to change. Look, we're not going to do a moratorium, pause, I don't care. But I do believe that we still could be looking at these ordinances to do things like removing the variance. You don't have to pause what's going on, but our planning commission's not even willing to start looking at it until you guys say, yeah, let's start looking at separating the battery storage. That was one piece, fixing some of the decommissioning language, and then some drainage concerns that I have. On August 8th, Mammoth was here because 2 of the parcels are flooding, and they want to put drain tiles in to one of our regulated ditches. The drainage board tabled it because they said that that ditch isn't going to hold the amount of water that's being held at Mammoth. Now, I know there's engineers, I know that, look, water is one of those things, water does what it wants and it always does what you don't expect it to do. But I understand again that, you know, we have all these engineers, we have all of this stuff being done, most of them hired by the solar companies, and yes, they're experts. But what happens when we're in this situation? So now we have water standing in these fields. They don't want it there. We can't put the drainage tile in because the ditches aren't there. I did a little bit of homework on ordinances, and one of the things that a lot of counties across the country do, not just in Indiana, is they look to make sure that we're checking the depth of the ditches that are inside of the projects as well as parallel to the projects, because during the work, that ground is getting compounded. The runoff is very different during construction. Eventually, once all the pollinator plants come in, it might get back to where it was with corn and things like that planted. But in that 18 months of construction, you know, people like Mr. Kubiak, I don't even know how to say your last name. Kozovic, sorry. You know, they're dealing with all of this runoff that's going into their fields. So the question then, with an ordinance, we have 2 options. One, the county can come in and say a ditch like McGaffey ditch that is got a ton of soot in it, needs to be dredged, hasn't been dredged in 10+ years before the start of construction. These should be dredged. And then after construction, checked again to see what kind of erosion might have taken place into the ditches.
from what I can tell and what our surveyor has told me, he has not once been out to Next Era to inspect any of the work that they've done, whether it's a crossing, whether it's the erosion, like nothing's being inspected. This is concerning. So my ask from you guys is, will you consider looking truly at our ordinances? And with North Bend, will you consider looking at the cost that it might take to get those ditches dredged prior to the start of construction? To help alleviate some of the flow. It is a regulated ditch.
It's a regulated drain, they're probably assessed, most of those are that way.
Yeah. I mean, we already have a lot of flooding in North Bend. I mean, it's just the reality. Those fields all hold water. They always have.
But like with Mammoth, I think, cause I think I sat in on that meeting and,
Okay.
like they wanna dump more water, well. You know, they should have had that issue figured out in the first place instead of, you know, now they wanna come in and redo it and or whatever, add new, but. That shouldn't fall on taxpayer money either, so they already said they'll pay for it, but. They need to clean the ditch because it hasn't been dug either, so, I mean, there's a lot of factors instead of just dumping water into one spot, I mean, you got. That whole watershed, so.
145 miles here in Starke County of regulated ditches.
Yeah,
So who's fault is it we have created it?
well, it'd be under the
So we
survey.
can't blame it on the solar people.
No, we can't. It's not their fault that
Right,
we didn't
right.
do it. That's why I'm saying the ordinance, that could be something that we look at. As we adjust these ordinances, I sent you guys a document that kind of lists out why, what the benefits are. And in some places, it's falls on the solar company. In some places it falls if the county doesn't have the
I
funds.
think with, you know, like certain areas, solar gets put in, you know, they wanna drain the water, you know, is that too low of ground to start with? Possibly. Some of that is that way, so. But, you know, when I look at that stuff, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't mess with it, but putting stuff there, but.
So I mean, I guess my two main questions is one, the first one is, are you guys in support of reviewing our ordinances? There are things that could be changed, not asking for a moratorium, just saying, hey, look, you know, we may have more solar coming after Hoosier, we don't know. So can we start looking at the ordinance, make some adjustments? And then, you know, 90 days, however long it takes for them to present the new ordinance. Again, the planning commission, several people supported it. The problem that they had was they didn't want to do anything with it until you guys said, yeah, let's start looking at these ordinances and potentially making changes. They don't want to do the work if there's no point in doing the work.
Me too.
And then the second is, well, we talked about the battery storage, which you were in favor of separating. So I think we just need to get that message back to them so that they can start working on a separate ordinance for that.
But I'm not doing it that way. I'll go talk to them myself. I'm
Yeah.
not sending you to go talk. to them.
No, I understand that. All I'm saying is that's what I'm looking for, is for you guys to go back to them and say, hey, let's start looking at this. Will you guys consider doing that? And then the second piece is there something we can do to help mitigate some of the potential risk with the North Bend project when it comes to the drainage? We already closed from, I was asking Rachel and she said there's an issue with the culvert pipe and it's all degraded. And that's why 2900 south of 10 is always flooding, and we're putting solar there. So we're probably gonna make that issue worse. I don't know when that's on the
They're working on
books.
that, or they're
Yeah.
planning on working.
Yeah, she said that they're planning on that one, but those ditches, they just, and I don't know all the ditches because I don't farm it. I could look at the farmer back there, but I know McGaffey is one that definitely needs it, and then the state really needs to do the one on 23, and I haven't quite figured out who I need to contact about that. Probably FEMA or Army Corps, because it's a mess too. And then Toto Road,
Start with local NDOT panel work.
local NDOT. Okay. So those are my two asks, is can we look at the drainage, decide what the cost might be to get some of those ditches if they need to be dredged? I know there's a way to measure them. You're the
But I don't think
drainage.
that needs to go to planning commission. That's whoever you on that board.
Right now, yeah, that would be the steps,
Yeah.
but again, in the future, it might make sense. It's not cheap
Which
to drain
Thomas-
ditches.
yeah,
I know.
So it might make
Ain't
sense,
exposed.
right, but it might make sense to add it to the ordinance as one of the things with solar moving forward. Once we have a new ordinance, not on the existing projects, but you know, for any future projects outside of Hoosier. Man, next area.
Maybe makes sense to have all large construction projects,
Not just solar, yeah, I mean, anything, and that's, if you look at the documents that I sent you guys, it does call out that it's not just that, I mean, I specifically focused on solar, but. I mean, just any big projects, when you're gonna be
Right.
on a project for a long time, you're gonna create a completely different runoff during the project. So. Marcia.
I do have a question about a statement you made about who's in charge of cleaning the ditches. That would be a good question I would have in concern with the ditches that will be used in our area.
And Central too.
Only because the ditch in my house is so overgrown that if more water is dumped into it, the whatever, that, I mean, who do you contact? to clean
Mr.
ditches?
Chesney,
Clean
he's
ditches?
on the planning, or not the planning,
Drainage
sorry, the
board.
drainage board.
But Thomas would be like, the surveyor would be
Right,
one
the
to go
first.
out and look at it and everything.
But if it's one that's in a conservancy, is that the same as?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Really
that,
cocked.
yeah, that's got its own separate board,
It's under
Okay,
DNR.
yeah.
so,
I think Todd Lawrence sits on that board.
but how do you contact those people?
We have a directory on the DNR website.
It's on DNR?
Yep. There's a directory of the conservancy districts in the state.
Good answer.
Yeah, because I mean, we're gonna start dumping water in there, that ditch is gonna be.
Right.
So those were just my asks there. And then the only other thing that I do have is I was hoping to get, to follow up on the oil spill situation. So I put in the FOIA request. I received one document. It's from December of 2023. I know that you guys said that item had been contacted in June or July when that happened, but there's.
Not of 23, I'm talking about the one they just had not too long.
Okay, but when I was here at the last meeting, we asked.
I had my
specifically-
dates.
You had your dates,
I
okay,
Charlie was out there, I wasn't,
okay.
the one I was involved in there, I then was.
That was December of 2022, I believe, yeah. But-
The
Yeah.
story was contacted. in
Yes,
May.
that's the letter that I received,
Yep.
but what I don't have is anything from the bigger spill, which was much larger than the one in December that took
That
place
I
in
have
June.
no
or
answer.
July.
Have you reached out to IDEM to see if they've got?
They
some
have
records?
nothing, yeah, there were no reports.
I went out there, Charlie was at that time.
See, did you say you only had one document?
One
I think
document.
there was another email sent to us,
Okay,
if I remember right. And it, well, because it had a couple statements, I remember that.
yeah, because right now, all I got was December of 2023. And this flooding, this, I got water on the brain.
That's a different problem.
It's a completely different problem. This was the oil.
Cause I
spill.
know, okay, I had received pictures from an employee out there, and I was out of town. Cause I
Okay,
know I got a hold of you, Don, to text you to go check it, cause I was out of town.
okay,
I thought that's one of them was those.
No, that was, I don't know. that
this would have been June of, just
yeah.
June of last year.
Yeah. But now. I had, on this email, I seen, I know. Or EMA knew about it,
Okay,
I seen it in
I
it,
thought she only knew about the last one. but-
well, this, she said it had a statement in there. Trying to find it. And I know Dave, you knew about it,
I did, yeah.
so, but I know you said it wasn't that bad, so I don't know. I don't know nothing, you know, I don't know if it's, because when I seen pictures of it, they had it covered up with sand, so.
Yeah, we reached out, I actually have had some emails about this too, we reached out, to, LaPorte County Hazmat. And I think they may have provided some of it, but, or it might have been the LaPorte County Highway, but we got pigs. And worked on containing it with pigs. And then also it was advised to, try to absorb it with sand, which is something we've done in the past. But then IDEM was contacted, it would be a couple months later, a few months later, whatever. Just to review to see, if that was still the appropriate measure to take long-term. Or what should be done, and so, IDEM was aware, but it was later.
And they even told her to get them.
To keep
In
using the
December,
pigs,
yeah.
keep using the pigs, yeah.
so is there a reason we
necessary.
didn't contact item when it happened in June, July?
Yeah, because, internally, we saw that there was an issue, and we mitigated it, and, turns out IDEM approved with our decision, I mean. We're not a bunch of idiots, Roberta, so we've got some training in hazmat and, you know, and aggregates, absorbents, adsorbents, things like that. You can check my certification. The reason why Don or Charlie mentioned me, I'm a hazmat tech, certified by the state, so I have a little bit of knowledge of that. But you know, we did what we thought was appropriate. Turns out the IDEM thought it was appropriate, so. You know, but there has been a lot of discussion on that, so it might be also worth bringing up. We do put oil on roads when we do asphalt, when we sometimes we oil gravel. I mean, we do use those kind of things, so. But to your point, that just at the time, we didn't feel like it was extensive enough to have to warrant intervention.
Isn't there a point at which there you have to, like, if it's so much, my understanding has always been with the state, if there is a spill that is a certain volume.
That's a great question, yes, and it did not exceed that. I mean, we have diesel spills sometimes, you know, that are 50, 100 gallons, and I've called IDEM out.
This was well
And they say
over
this thing-
50 or 100 gallons.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It just looked like it because of the rain.
I would like, because we asked for documentation, because you sat here and told us, yes, you reported.
But like I just told her, Justin, I'm the one I was talking about, the one just lately. Don't put words in my mouth again.
You weren't discussing the one just lately, we were
And
discussing.
I said, I'm sorry.
We were discussing.
And I said, I'm sorry for that. I thought you saw about the last one that I was involved in.
What
Quit putting stuff in my mouth.
what constitutes a reportable spill? How much of a spill constitutes a reportable spill? Expert?
Actually, I'm not going on the record as expert right now. We can.
You just did. You just did.
I said at the time, what we saw there, but since we don't have Rachel here, you want an exact amount of gallons. I don't know what that was.
You just sat here and counted all your credentials. You got answers for everything except for.
I can die for it.
How much did this cost us?
And I think was on.
3 tanker loads.
We got this material for free.
Yeah.
It cost us.
I'd have to ask.
The original
Equipment
fix was not free.
the whole season.
And then I don't think it was even a tanker load.
Well, I'm just trying to get a guesstimate
The
on.
fact that it ran into a ditch and there was no surveyors brought out to do any tests in the ditch.
Yeah, I mean, that is.
There was no mention of it in any public meetings. I went through, I even asked you to go through minutes and double check me. Did you ever go through the minutes and find where any of this was discussed to the public? Because this should have been brought to the public's attention that we had a massive oil spill and we just covered it up. We didn't report it.
You realize.
It was over 100 gallons. I can promise you that it was over 100 gallons. How much constitutes a reportable spill in your guys' eyes? Because you just said you'll report 50 to 100 gallons, and they'll tell you not to. Well, we got well over 1,000 gallons ditches in the parking lot that still shows when it rains, it's still coming to the surface and showing how much is reportable. Then if you'll report 50 to 100, why won't you report this massive?
When Dan called it in, it was in the process of using the equipment and it got spilled because the operator was not operating the equipment.
Correct. One like a.
No, it was like the way Dan described it, and it looked like it was a couple of gallons. The rain came. It ran on the top of the rain, and so it made a slick, so it looked like a lot, but I don't know where Justin's getting it. That's why I'm saying I'd rather defer until I can pull the documents than. We were told it was like a gallon or two, like it was a small amount. I was there, it didn't look that silly.
Down for two, you just saw it down.
Because it was a hard rain and it spread out over the parking lot.
Oil goes on top of water.
So, Terry, I don't know if you had the chance to see this was right after it happened. And again, that is not a gallon of oil. I mean, no matter how you look at this, that is not a gallon of oil. I mean, that is a river of oil.
Running.
But there again, it's not that the tanker split, it's running off.
Well, my understanding was that it was one of the tank.
There you go. Who are you talking to? When you,
So-
I think whatever did, it was when they were mixing it, so I don't know how that system works
I mean,
exactly.
it was bad enough that we had to call again in December because the leak was still showing up. So, I mean, that tells us something, right?
Right.
I mean, the reason that Rachel contacted IDEM and, had IDEM contacted in December was because it was, she wasn't working there in
That's why I was
January.
involved.
So,
and that's what
the
I'm
December,
talking about.
right.
I have no idea.
Why wasn't it?
No idea.
You covered it up. You covered it.
Yeah, that's not you. Because I have an attorney too, so.
Okay.
All right, well, that was all I had. So again, I just, something that, if we can get answers onto what is a reportable amount, I think that's probably important to know. So that we are, because again, in December, it wasn't that bad and we reported that. So
Exactly.
it's concerning that it didn't get reported. And it sounds like at least our EMA director knew and at least our council
And
president.
it was never brought up in any public meetings. Not a single public meeting was just mentioned.
That's
Not
all I
gone
had.
through the minutes. So why wasn't it brought up in any public
Without
meeting?
water.
I need a motion to accept the payroll claims of 86,444.46.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
That's all I have.
I need a motion to accept the commissioner's claims for 332,834.53.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to set commissioners meeting minutes of August 5th.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Teresa, you have anything?
I just want to remind you that we are still looking for one appointment for the courtesy. So we haven't gotten any letters. No one sent anything in, but we're still looking for one more person.
And will the radio put that out there, please? Thank you.
I can absolutely, talk to Michaeline about it. When she
Okay.
gets back.
All right, he said he would put it on there too.
Right here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Justin, you have anything? Darrell?
No, I don't.
Morris?
Is it Friday yet?
No, we're just starting. I'm good.
Good. Dave?
I just wanted to go back to one thing. And I asked Tori, I don't know if she's here, because I don't want to speak about Tori on behalf of her if she's not here, so I do
Right.
have a continued answer to the other thing. As far as battery storage is concerned, there's also a lot of fire and brimstone that's being spread around, so just real quick. I wanted to let you know that NextEra has their battery facility up. There's gonna be training around that for the county that our county is gonna participate in, but you guys have an open invitation to see it also. So if I could just really quickly explain how battery storage works. In the past, it used to be DC, and so what you would have is within the panel array, there would be battery storage. It's a little bit inefficient to do it that way, plus it's a little bit harder for first responders to deal with it admittedly so. Now, if you go out and take a look at that, just across Jasper County line, there, it must be at least 4 foot that NextEra raised the battery storage above the plane, and it's AC storage now. So it's all centralized. There's like 28 different containers that have the inverters and everything all right there in the one spot. And so it's gonna help a lot with drainage. It's gonna help us and the other first responders that are having to deal with that kind of thing. So again, NextEra has an open invitation for you to view it if you'd like to, but if you just want to drive out there, it's really nice the way that is. So that's the new way to do it, just so people aren't afraid and are hearing about that. So I just wanted to ask Tori, this is like coming up on lunchtime, because it was quoted about gallons and Tori and everything else, so I just wanted to pause that for a second. So now, as far as reporting is concerned, just so everybody knows. If the way hazmat works, it's 100 pounds of whatever the material is, or in the case of petroleum, it's 55 gallons. So to Justin's point, we were told that it was a minimal amount. I don't know if it's just 1 gallon, but it was not 55 gallons, which is what would be the reportable amount. I will confirm that with Tori, though. You can smile all you want, Justin. And that with Tori, and I'll see if I can get a hold of Dan Diaper. At the time. Well, you called me out, so you know.
So I don't understand why he's sitting up there.
But I asked him to, because there ain't no room out there. That's not your problem.
He runs this meeting, doesn't he?
Does he?
He does.
Okay, yeah. That's what you'll go tell your people on
I
Facebook.
don't need to tell them anything they see it.
But I'll find out from Tori for you guys if she heard something differently, just so, but it's like I said, what was reported us to Dan. And Charlie, you may remember this, Dan didn't say it was a gigantic amount of oil, just that the person that was operating it. I feel like it was operator error,
Yeah.
not a crack in the tank or anything like
No, it
that.
didn't say nothing.
No.
No, it was the
I
operator.
saw the photo just showed me, and you can see right where it run off the top, not out of the tank.
And it's more than 55 gallons.
Anything else? Sam?
I do.
Oh.
Lunch break.
This invoice was brought to my attention Thursday evening, 5 p.m. It was due in October of 2023. And
23.
yes. I was never sent it that year.
Where did this come from?
This was from a contract that Richard had signed in 22
Right.
for a 3-year contract with them for that amount. They're listed per year. I don't have it in my
Benefit
budget.
and anything from it?
Oh, yes, but this is our,
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't have it in my budget to cover this
Oh,
year,
no.
and I'm expecting this bill again in a month,
Mhm.
which,
Oh, yeah, because it's due in October.
You just need to.
we.
So this wasn't budgeted for in your
It,
budget?
it was budgeted, it was that budgeted money was spent on purple.
Oh, okay. Oh. Yeah, that's. So this is unpaid and. And we don't have a budget for it when it comes due next month.
Could you explain
Let's
to the public
do-
what it is?
It's a contract for, cloud retention, basically it's a
Our
data backup system. Hmm?
Our on-prem and cloud.
Okay. So it's basically a data backup system for our IT servers. Right,
How much does it go for?
I'm getting there. Gotta do some math.
Okay, sorry.
Better you than me.
I can get to I hate iPhones. Don't know where anything is. There we go. All right. This is gonna be exactly the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
And after it's paid this year, the contract is up, with which we spoke briefly before about what upgrades I had planned for the county, and those would be having
This is
the
included.
integrated backup solutions where we would not require this in the future. I'm really hoping to liberate the county from these ridiculous expenses.
So I'll make the motion to request an additional appropriation in the amount of $36,559.58 from CEDAT to cover the,
We should only need half of that.
You said twice.
Twice, but it's already been budgeted into my
This
fund.
year.
Yes.
Oh, so,
So just be this.
so it's just the 18,279.79?
Yeah, I've got it.
That's all the money you need?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'll amend my motion to reflect the balance of $18,279.79.
Second,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
thank you.
It's very last second, so I tried to hop over here with.
No worries.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody over there? Manny? Anybody else in the public? Go ahead.
Susan McHenry spoke a little bit earlier, but, my family owns a house at Bass Lake. Been in our family for 50+ years. My grandparents lived in Knox, my great grandparents lived in Knox when I was 5 here. My daughter and son-in-law are farmers here. Mary Beaver came out to the Bass Lake Property Owners Association meeting on Saturday. The kindness of her heart to discuss the new proposal for a flood damage prevention ordinance that was on your agenda from July 15th, and then she came to you again on your meeting on August 5th, requesting that a part-time job be made into a full-time job that's kind of associated with that. To put it lightly, the homeowners did not take the information that was provided in a good light. I don't know that there was maybe an information disconnect between the state and the county as far as direction on how this program is supposed to be implemented and the elements that are supposed to be included in that program. What we were told during the meeting was that all piers, docks, boat lifts, swim platforms would be required to have a permit issued for them, even already existing items. She also informed us that she wasn't sure what the cost would be involved with those permits, or if that would be required to be an annual permitting, but under what we were told, that was the thought that was going to happen there. I have been in contact with the gentleman that she's been speaking with at the water district. I wrote him an email over the weekend. His name is Doug Wagner. I also spoke with him on the phone this morning on my way to this meeting, just for some more clarification on exactly what this is and how it's supposed to go about. A little bit of my background, I spent 26 years in the safety industry for property and casualty insurance companies. So I'm really familiar with how all of that stuff kind of works as far as home ownership and flood insurance and all of that, excuse me. So in my conversation with Mr. Wagner, he provided a little more clarity in that it was his understanding that the state was directing the local governance in how this was to be implemented, and that existing docks and so forth were actually not required to be permitted because they're already there. They're not a new development to the property, but they should be recorded in some way. And any change to those then would require a permit, just like as if you had a home or a shed or something else on a property, it's already an existing item. So anything changed would require a permit to do that. So I'm not sure how this is going to go forward, but that's something that needs to be considered in the implementation of this permitting process. Their intent was not permits for already existing structures. So I don't know how you would record what's already on the lake.
Right.
Other than homeowners providing you that information, or whoever's handling the home and, inspections and so forth for new construction out there, also doing documentation of that. I'm not sure how you want to go about doing that, but it just seems like it's an extra step, an extra documentation, record keeping for the county to have to do that and permit it continually.
Right.
Unless there's a change to it, it's not going to change from one year to the next. So that was my discussion with him. my understanding was he was supposed to call Mary and have a discussion with her. I don't know that that's happened because of the meeting this morning,
Right.
so.
And that's what I mean, I don't think it's set in stone yet. They are working on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's,
Right, so I just wanted to talk about it, bring it to the forefront before anything gets approved. I am gonna go to the other meetings, so I'm gonna have the same conversation. From the homeowner standpoint, there were some concerns issued that if this does do a permitting process, which is my understanding is not what's necessary for existing, every year trying to redo that,
right.
you might not get docks in until July, and now that's infringing on the property owner's right to utilize their property, so.
I'm gonna lean on Mary and Charlie. Charlie's on that board.
I just
Like
wanted
I
to
say, they're working on it. So I mean, I appreciate the info.
Yeah, and
Would you
just,
sign this before you leave, please?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
that's okay. My name is Michelle McGuire. I also have property in the lake. I also have grandparents that farm Knox. And so the whole thing, I won't go through all my lineage, but I'll sign the doc. I'm also a recovering attorney. So I took a look through everything and I don't even believe, well, first I should say Mary did a great job taking some questions that were somewhat reasonable, not reasonable in the meeting on Saturday, but I don't even think that the purpose behind the flood prevention, flood damage prevention ordinance is to allow Starke County to participate in the insurance program for homeowners who need to get insurance, right? And if you look at the FEMA underlying regulations, they don't say anything about docks or piers. Somehow it got into the Starke County recently, and I'm just wondering what the statutory authority for that is, because I took a look at Kentucky's model ordinance, Michigan's model ordinance, Illinois' model ordinance, and a lot of other counties. They do not require permits for piers, temporary piers that can easily be taken in and out. They're not considered real estate, they're personal property, so it's not a structure or development real estate. So I think there's a good argument that it's not even required under the flood damage prevention ordinance. So I'm happy to participate in any way you'd like me to help support that. I'm happy to pay a permit and a fee for a license or whatever you need if it's gonna help prevent floods. But I also don't see any guidance under FEMA that gives our requirements of how a pier needs to be permitted to prevent a flood or prevent damage during flood. They don't say anything about that. It's all about building permits and real estate and the floodplain and not impeding the flow of water, which piers don't do. So unless it's a permit, and such. So yeah, I'll sign the document if I can get any help. I'd like to be involved too.
So this was a change in state law that predicated this, our adoption of this.
Yes.
Justin, did you, when this was a part of conversation, did you review what the state law change was and make sure that this was what was necessary because of that state law?
Yeah, it's been months. It's been months.
I know.
Yeah,
But that was, I just wanted, really what I'm getting to is, this is the start of this and it was drafted specifically because of the change in state law and so, I'm hopefully correct in my assumption that we are not, this is just implementing what we're required to in order to remain a participant in this program and comply with that state.
that was the way I had it explained to me by counsel downstate. Recovering attorney, I like that. You didn't trademark that, did you? I like to use that term. It's the first time I'm hearing that could be the case. I just don't know a ton about it beyond initial review and the way I was at. I think I told you guys when we implemented this with a small town in Pulaski County, I made a couple adjustments, or at least I tried, and they kicked it back to me and they said it's all or nothing.
Okay.
You know, I was kind of given my marching orders and the town just said, okay, we'll pass it.
So the specific language in the ordinance isn't what we drafted, it's what we were handed
Yes.
from the state.
Yes, there was not, again, I changed the name of the town from Pulaski County to the town of Monterey. And they kicked it back to me in about half a dozen places to try to make a more of a model ordinance for for the town of Monterey, and they said you take it all or you take none of it. At least that was back in April of this year. I mean, I can add this to the list. I can try to find an answer. It's just not some, I don't want to speak unintelligently about it because I don't know a lot, especially if it's changing. So. That's all I need, more documents on my desk, right? No, but I mean, I'd be happy to take whatever information is out there.
But the crux of it is what we got in front of us, what we approved was word for word what was prescribed by the state.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And in that document you're referring to, does not mention here's stocks. Yeah, temporary removable items, right? And by name.
Well, keep an eye on how we implement it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So don't forget to shut sign the page.
Yeah, good. So 2 weeks back, I asked you guys about this deleted email. I was told that it would be looked into. So now we're going in to over a month now of me waiting for this email that I FOIA'd. Were you able to get it? You said it was there.
In 2 weeks, how you waited a month?
Because I requested the FOIA was over a month ago. So.
And have you looked into it?
I don't, Pyramid has nothing to do with this, so there's no reason to lean over and talk with that.
It ain't up to you, Justin. It's in this meeting.
No, Pyramid is not involved in this meeting. Yes, he is. He is to be sitting out there.
Decide on his own, get him out of here.
Where's my email at?
You're constantly interrupting this meeting.
Where's my email at?
And you don't have to answer.
You know, where's my email at?
We go.
Let's go.
I asked the question, where's my email at?
Let's go.
Your question is asked and unanswered. Thank you very much for your feedback.
Because I deleted. Yeah, yeah. Wait, boys, it's not over. I'm going to the sheriff's. You guys are getting charges pressed on every one of you for deleting emails that are illegal. Go in me, don't let them take it down.
I'm Bill Oliver, definitely property owner, member of the Property Owners Association board now. We were just discussing, we are looking for a change in statute. I've been in contact with the DNR also. Can we get that statute from you? You can't find where the statute's been changed. You're referring to, you said law, but it'd have to be a change in the statute or the Practice Act that was passed in 1940, whatever, revised.
Yeah, I can probably find it in my email. Again, it's been a long time, but I can
I
probably
think
get
that would help us to understand better
Sure.
and go back to our members and explain to them.
Yeah, I can get you what I have.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I don't remember the bill that was passed. I don't know if it's
been, yeah.
Anybody else?
Don, sorry, I have a 12 o'clock, so I'm gonna run. I just wanted to let you know, though, I had several people from Bass Lake talk to me at the festival about this. And so I asked Jim Press to look into it too. He said LaPorte County's always been having an inspection on piers and improvements as they're done. Because this is also about seawalls, like it's everything, those fire pits everybody's building, the lake pubs or whatever, sheds or whatever, all those things, but he's gonna look into it for you too and get.
Okay, thank you.
For the flood prevention, flood damage.
Well, that's where all this comes from with the inspection. It's kind
Right.
of all built into that.
Yeah,
So
because we.
please don't condemn Mary for that. The state hasn't
No,
really
we-
given her.
Great job. Great job.
It's gone. We're learning more about it too.
The definition, we're mixing and matching the definition between the Flood Damage Prevention Act and the Lake Preservation Act.
The state's
Yeah.
doing the same thing is the problem. So, State Representative Russell, I mentioned to him that there's been a lot of discussion and people have asked like have concerns. He knows too, and he's gonna mention it to his colleagues as well, so. See?
And have you had a chance to look into the email?
I've attempted to look on a couple occasions, but this is a difficult proposition.
Would you look farther into it, and if you need help or whatever, call Mark. Mark can help you, so we get this
Yeah,
resolved.
I'd be glad to discuss it with Mark.
Yeah, I just we can coordinate with me so we can maybe take a look at the audit logs. If they're retained.
Anybody else?
Mark, what was your last statement?
Well, once upon a time, and I don't know what may have changed or what the requirements are, but an email server sometimes has enabled an audit log that will record metadata on emails sent or transactions on the email system. I don't know if you know how much of that is a requirement on our end to implement, or how much it actually has been implemented. But it's something that we'll now dive into, since given what Stanley just said about getting into it and taking a look at things.
Since it's my email that's missing, can I keep me updated on?
Yeah, and I just hope it has nothing to do with that botch update from earlier this year that gave Mary fits on emails and gave some of us other problems with.
Oh, CrowdStrike, Microsoft.
No, this was long before that. It was,
February 21st.
yeah,
Update that was pushed out.
yeah, there was an update in February that didn't, I don't know how to put it in the least technical terms possible, but it basically didn't sound like it took properly. I don't know if you've ever had with your own personal computer an update come from Microsoft, and then halfway through something interrupts the update process, and then your computer doesn't work right until you redo several things. And sometimes worst case scenario, you might have to reinstall the complete, all the software on your system. This sounded like it might have been similar in that on our email system. It wasn't that there was something wrong with the update. It's just the process of getting it onto our email server may have not gone as it without interruption.
It was a known issue from
Okay.
Microsoft. There were multiple fixes that were attempted, none of them took. And in the time since then, there's been other cumulative updates that have been rolled out, and none of those have fixed the issue either.
So, and I haven't read what those are, but it would not surprise me if that is part of why there are emails missing, and why you have things you can't find, why Mary had folks that couldn't get emails into her. And when you were trying to send things, were you getting bounce back messages? I don't remember.
Yeah, they're undeliverable.
Right.
This is one. Yes.
Might be. But that's my understanding of it, of the situation. It's not that anything was deliberate. It's just.
So they are checking into
Yeah.
it, they're not just leaving it lay.
Right, and like I said, I even noticed some oddities with the search function.
The issue lies with the indexing on the server side.
Right. So, and if that's part of the problem, then I don't know if there really is a good resolution to that, because if the index is corrupted, I don't know, I'm not aware of a tool to rebuild that index with any
No,
confidence.
they've tried.
Yeah,
Best workaround would probably just to do a registry edit so that the individual workstations.
yeah, that's
locally
dangerous enough. I don't, if it's not part of the
Yeah.
official prescribed workaround from Microsoft for Exchange.
It's lower on the list.
Right. So,
Anybody else? Motion adjourned.
so
Everybody that talks, would you please come sign paper? You don't have
Business only rebuilt here is inside.
Yeah, right. I got to write. I felt the same thing. You coming tonight? Is that-
That's what.
Right. Yeah.
And same with Mark said, it's a cloud retention data backup system.
It's the invoice for our on premises backup units along with cloud retention.
So do they have a say?
Invoice for our on premises.
It's filed.